So on the channel, we have tried a ton of different options to get budget mullet gearing. And if you're still unfamiliar with what that means, basically it's the ability to use drop bar road shifters with mountain bike rear derailleurs. For whatever reasons, all the major brands have decided that they should not work together. So we've done things like this with aftermarket cages and pulleys. I've also tried things like the JTech ShiftMate, which alter the cable pull that a road shifter gives so it can communicate well with a mountain bike rear derailleur. All those different ways do work great, but also have different levels of fiddliness when setting them up. Today we are going to talk about this little piece, which promises to be one of the most elegant and simple solutions to get a budget mullet setup if you're using a SRAM drivetrain. Welcome back, Pathless Peddlers, and if you're new to the channel, this is the home of non-competitive cycling, where we like to ride party pace and live the supple life. So if that sounds good to you, hit that subscribe button. So what we're looking at today are some aftermarket parts by the company Ratio. And what they do is they provide an interesting slate of aftermarket kits so you can make your road shifters work with your mountain bike derailleur. All these kits work specifically for SRAM, and they sent over this whole bundle which allows me to take an 11-speed shifter and turn it into 12-speed, as well as a fin that allows the road shifter to talk with the mountain bike rear derailleur. I'm going to keep it pretty simple in this video and just talk specifically about their cable fin hack. I'm perfectly content with 11-speed. I don't want to deal with upgrading hubs to work with 12-speed cassettes, but if you are interested in that part of the hack, definitely check out Locked In's video, where it actually goes to the trouble of changing the gear in the shifter. I don't feel like dealing with it. This is a much simpler solution in my opinion, and I can live with 11 speeds. So basically this is what's happening. This is a SRAM Eagle GX level rear derailleur, and on the GX and above they have this thing that is called a cable fin. And what this does is it routes the shifter cable into the rear derailleur. By swapping it out, you can actually change the cable pull, the amount that the road shifter pulls, so it can talk successfully with the rear derailleur. As you can see here on the GX version, the cable fin can be removed. I've been aware of this hack, but I have a NX level version of the Eagle derailleur, and on that version and the versions below it, the cable fin is riveted in and there's no way to replace it. So the folks at Ratio were kind enough to send GX Eagle rear derailleur with their fin actually installed. They do have videos on how to install it yourself. This is not going to be the scope of this video. I'm just going to swap it out and we'll see how well it works. But it does beg the question, if this minor change is all it takes to make road shifters work with mountain bike derailleurs, why SRAM? Why SRAM have you not made this possible before or as an option? This is what the people want. Give people the budget mullet. But you know what that means? I'm gonna have to once again take apart my poor Bambora. Let's see how easy it is. Move this guy out of the way. I feel so bad for this bike. I feel like it spends more time on the stand being assembled and disassembled for these videos than being ridden. This is what we do for you guys. All right, we've got the Bambora in the stand. And before I take things apart, I do want to show you what I have on here currently. So this right here is the JTech ShiftMate. And it actually does the same function as a cable fin, although probably not as elegantly. If you saw my first video on the JTech ShiftMate, I actually had this mounted on the rear derailleur, but I found that it didn't lay very flat against the frame, and sometimes my heel would hit it. So I recabled the whole thing and spliced it in line to the shift cable from the handlebar. I have to say it works pretty well once the cable has bedded in. It is a little bit of a pain in the butt when you set it up at the handlebar because if you imagine, you're taking the cable, you're looping it through a pulley, and then you have to hold this under tension while you cable everything else and take up the slack at the rear derailleur and tighten it up. So if you do use the JTech ShiftMate, the installation is easier by the rear derailleur, but depending on your frame geometry, your chainstay length, you may hit it with your the heel of your foot. You can solve that by installing it closer to the handlebar, but it introduces its own slate of problems. Okay, so this is the rear derailleur I was running with the JTech ShiftMate, and it is the NX version of SRAM Eagle. And like I mentioned before, this also has a cable fin, but unlike the GX version, this is riveted in. So there's no way to easily remove this and put the appropriate fin in there. If you do this hack, you do have to get a little bit more expensive rear derailleur. If you're truly on a budget and can only use NX and below, then the JTEC might still be a better option. And just to answer your question, because someone always asks when I do this video, this is the Garbaruk rear cassette. Super lightweight, a little bit on the spendy side, but works lovely. Well, I guess it's that time again to once again disassemble the drivetrain on the Crust Bambora to make content. Poor bike. So I know one of the questions you guys are asking is, why not 12 speed when that's an option here? And like I alluded to, I'm perfectly content with 11 speed. I'm not so concerned with the number of gears as long as it has the appropriate range. And I find that even on a wide range rear cassette, 11 speed for me is plenty. If you're more sensitive to things like cadence, then sure, investigate 12 speed. But I want to keep it easy. I don't want to mess around with changing some tiny gears in the front shifter. I'd rather just slap on a rear derailleur with a new cable fin and be one and done. First things first, undo the rear derailleur here. Another thing I should mention about the ratio kit, depending on how your cable exits your bike to your rear derailleur, the steps may change. So here the cable entryway is through the front rather than this direction. So it's fairly straightforward. If you have a bike where the cable pops out this way, you do have to monkey around with this pulley back here and swap that out. Okay, taking off the chain once again. So overall, my time with the JTEC ShiftMate has actually been pretty good. There was initially, after you install it, the cable kind of has to bed into the pulley. Once that initial break-in period is done, it works great. So I totally recommend the JTEC Shift. It's a little bit less expensive than the Ratio. Is a little bit more fiddly, but you can use a lower end rear derailleur to make it work. Another upside of the JTEC ShiftMate is, let's say you wreck and you break your rear derailleur for whatever weird reason, you can just go to a shop and pick up another Eagle rear derailleur and have it work. Whereas with this Ratio system, if you break the rear derailleur, you do have to go that slightly extra step of removing the cable fin and transferring it over. And once again, you have to buy at least a GX Eagle rear derailleur. Cable removed. Let's take off the rear derailleur. So I know someone's just dying to comment about the stack of spacers or the sloppy cabling. Get out of your system. So I think once we have done this, I might have covered every single mullet-ish hack for SRAM, short of using the electronic shifter from Archer. I may actually put the Archer system on a different bike because I want to ride this bike and not monkey with it for the rest of the year. We shall see. Famous last words. Okay, time to install the rear derailleur. And once again, the cable fin is already pre-installed. I think they might actually sell this as a complete unit. So if you just want the benefits of budget mullet, but don't want to mess around with actually executing it, they've got options, people. A little grease on the threads here. Okay, nice and snug. So I was hoping I could get away without having to recable everything, but that does not look like it's going to happen. Since I did splice it for the JTEC ShiftMate, I thought I could use one of the inline adjusters that came with it to just put it here, but it doesn't work with those cable ends. Once again, must recable everything. Okay, so through the magic of the internet, the bike has been recabled, and I am now just putting in the inner cable. You guys didn't see it, but somewhere in the process I managed to bash my hand into the front chainring. Always a good time to keep bad ideas. So we're nearing the first shift. I'm just routing the cable through here. Okay, so I've got the rear derailleur connected. I've not adjusted it yet, so let's see how it shifts. Hopefully this works. Oh, never mind this. We'll just put this over here. It's looking pretty good. Actually bring the B-screw in just a bit. It seems like with very little adjustment, it's just working really, really well. Let's run through the gears here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Put a little bit of oil on the chain here. Give you guys a close-up of what's going on. You guys can judge for yourself the shifting. Really smooth. Oh, I am so impressed with this. throw the chain a couple times. Nice. Okay, so the on the stand verdict is that this is pretty freaking amazing. I love how it just works. I mean, you guys know on the channel I've tried so many things, everything from aftermarket derailleur cage hacks, things like the JTech shiftmate, dumb things like flipping the B screw, and honestly replacing this one piece to make this happen. It's just brilliant. It is a little bit of a bummer that it only works on GX and above, so you are putting at least over $100 into the rear derailleur. But when you compare it with the Access mullet, where the rear derailleur costs $700, you can do this multiple times over. So I know I am only shifting it in the stand, but I'm going to take it outside. We're so close to riding season, folks, so just bear with me. And honestly, aside from maybe the cost, and the fact that you have to import it from the UK, there aren't really a whole lot of downsides to this system. I think it's awesome that Ratio gives you so many options in how to apply this. You can go full on with the 12-speed shifter hack, replacing the gear and all that stuff. Or if you don't want to make that jump to 12 because it requires a different hub body, cassette, all that stuff, you can simply swap out the fin or buy the derailleur with the pre-installed fin and do it 11 speed. I mean, this is pretty friggin' awesome. This should also work if you have a 10-speed SRAM, I believe. So super stoked on this. I know someone invariably is going to send me the Bike Rumor article where someone took a road cable fin off of, I think it was like a SRAM rival rear derailleur, and put it on the GX rear derailleur. Yes, this is essentially the commercial version of that. Big advantage of this is you don't have to buy two separate derailleurs and mangle both of them to come up with one derailleur. You could go that route if you have those as spares. And by the way, Bike Rumor totally used budget mullet with no credit to us. So for what it's worth, thank you, Bike Rumor. If anything, this hack has made me a little bummed that SRAM just doesn't offer this as an option. Why not make a GX for road rear derailleur? I mean, clearly it's possible. It worked. It doesn't take a ton of money. And I say this because I actually really like SRAM. A lot of you guys think I hate SRAM, that's why I do all these videos, but quite the opposite. I think they make a great product, especially for one buy, and it just bums me out that they're not giving affordable options to the people. So thank you, Ratio, for making this happen, for sending over these parts. I hope you guys enjoy this video. If you guys have any questions, leave those in the comments below. I will be riding this on the crust. I think this will be the final drivetrain for this bike for at least a couple months. I'm just so tired of recabling this poor bike. If you enjoyed this video, found it entertaining or useful, don't forget to subscribe or buy some merch, buy some stickers. That's what keeps the lights on. And as always, keep the supple side down.